ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here, Oilers Live with Wednesday edition of Oilers Live. I got to call you guys co-hosts now. Co-hosts, Patrick from the Oilers Fanatic and Mr. Ryan Lutzberg, senior writer for heavyhockey.com. We're here to talk a little bit of Oilers hockey tonight, and also I think Dash has come down with cholera or something, so our thoughts and prayers with Dash tonight. Actually, Dash is quite ill. We do hope that he's off the LTIR soon. But not too soon, though. We need the cap space, right? Not too soon. So we need the cap space for Saturday's big heavy hockey showdown, which is coming up. Hello to all of you. We've got I don't know if we got lots to talk about, but we got some stuff to talk about, and it's not all good. I've asked you before the show, Patrick, but I'm going to ask you again. Patrick is the man, the guy that does the rundown on the Oilers Fanatic. Give us a little bit of a idea of what's happened in Oilers world since Monday night's Buffalo Sabres game, if you would.
Well, people aren't happy. I heard talk about, maybe the Oilers need to make another coaching change, and Connor's upset about something. You were mentioning that maybe they think Connor's upset at Chris Knobloch, but I think that's people just grasping at straws there. I think he was just upset. As we mentioned before the show here, the Oilers had just lost to the Buffalo Sabres, who, if I recall correctly, were coming in on a 6-game losing streak. So not exactly the kind of game you want the Edmonton Oilers to lose here. And going into today, we found out Matthias Ekholm isn't joining the Oilers for the rest of their road trip. He's going to stay at home, so he's going to miss the next 3 games. I believe Chris Knobloch said he should be good to go for next Tuesday at home against Utah, so hopefully that is the case. Matthias Janmark has come down with an illness, so he wasn't at practice today. He may be good to go tomorrow, but we'll see. Jeff Skinner, Chris Knobloch's, I don't even know the word for it. He just doesn't like him. He made his way into the top 6 to practice, so we'll see if that sticks. I don't know. Maybe Matthias Janmark will take that spot if he's good to go tomorrow. Hopefully not, though. Chris Knobloch did say today, I believe it was Jeff Skinner, Connor Brown, and Matthias Janmark he felt were the best Oilers against the Sabres the other night. So that doesn't sound like he's going to be taking Jeff Skinner out, but hopefully that doesn't happen. And the Oilers look like they wasted another first-round pick. They made a trade back in the summer with Ottawa, swapping out Xavier Bourgault for Roby Yarventi. And Yarventi, I believe it was knee issues he had most of the year. And now it sounds like he's headed back to Finland next year. So the Oilers can probably retain his rights, but essentially they've lost another first-round pick for nothing. And we know in that year the Oilers were primed to select a future probably number 1 goaltender in Jesper Wallstedt, and instead they selected Xavier Bourgault, who they've traded for a guy who's now leaving for Finland. So, yeah, it's just a bad situation all around here for the Edmonton Oilers. So let's hope they win tomorrow. That's, I think, basically the latest there. And, Ryan was also mentioning, too, the Oilers were one of 4 teams that Mikko Rantanen was willing to sign with and in a trade. And the Oilers, we know, were in discussions with Carolina, but ultimately couldn't match Dallas's what they were willing to give up in the Rantanen trade. So, yeah, that's basically all the latest there.
All right. Well, that's a wrap. We'll see you again next Wednesday. Already in the chat, we've got please trade Bouchard.
I read something today that Bouchard was probably the ask from Carolina, and Edmonton wasn't willing to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you can't give up on Bouchard. Not yet, right? Can you?
No,
I wouldn't.
Not in my opinion.
No. I mean, I know he's public enemy number one in oil country right now. Although, well, I mean, there's a couple. I guess he's got it lucky because there's a couple right now. Everybody's, are the Oilers 3-2 in their last 5, or are they 3-7 in their last 10? which 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 Oilers team are they? That's a good place to start. Lotzie right now, 3-5, or 3-2 in their last 5, or 3-7 in their last 10. Which team is it?
I'm gonna take the optimistic route on this one. The 3-2, like what we saw against Dallas was fantastic, and the new additions were looking really good. Jake Wallman's been fantastic so far. We still need to see what Trent Frederick can do for us. So I'm not like the 6-7 losing streak. I don't think that's the real Oilers. I don't think the 16 win is in a row team from last year was the real Oilers either. The reality lies somewhere in the middle, but we know where we are in the standings and where we have been the last 5 years. Second in the Pacific Division, above average team, top 10 team for sure. So I think that's where we are.
Yeah. No, all right. I mean, it's hard to disagree. Although, I mean, it's also hard to agree when you see a game like Monday night go by. Patrick, 3-2 in their last 5, or 3-7. Which Oilers team is this?
I'm going to agree with Ryan. I think they're closer to the 3-2 that we're seeing right now, maybe somewhere kind of in the middle, but they have been playing better. I mean, it was mentioned they hit like 5 goalposts against the Sabres. Like they probably should have won that hockey game. I was watching a video just seeing like some of the absolutely high danger chances they're missing. And a lot of the times when they're missing those chances, it's going immediately back the other way. It's turning into an offensive opportunity for the other team. So they're finding their way there. I think they're closer to the 3-2 team, but still a lot of things to clean up for this team.
Yeah. All right. I'll sit on the fence on this one and say say somewhere in the middle, because I one of those wins I complained about, I thought was uninspiring. Was the which win was it? I thought the Montreal win. Yeah, felt a little bit uninspiring for me. People argued with me. I don't know. I didn't get a lot out of that game. I didn't, feel very comfortable with this team. And then they come out and do what they did against Dallas. I mean, you accept 5-4 because, as we've talked about, this team's a little bit fragile still, right? I think that goaltending, of course, is an issue, right? And but it depends on what kind of issue you think it is, right? Like, do you need new goaltending, or you just need a little bit more confidence on the back end, or do you need better defense? Maybe a little bit of all three, right?
Yeah.
And so I think you expect, or accept rather, a 5-4 win against Dallas, just based on those factors, but they still held it out and kept the win. And they looked good. I thought they looked good in that game. I didn't think, to your point, Patrick, I thought they looked decent in the Buffalo game. But they didn't win, right? I mean, we're past the years of moral victories, right? Like, we had really great coulda, shoulda wins, for 10 years, a little over 10 years. And I think we're past that now. This team should win more often than they lose. But here's the thing. Now I want to get your opinion. I mean, they had the blip at the beginning of the season. We know that, right? Like, this is how we felt at the beginning of the season. Oh no, this again, right? And then they got out of it. And they were rocking. Best team in the league, right? Or second best, in or around there, right? Top 3, at least, for a long, long stretch. and then they go into this dive. It's 3-7 in their last 10, right? Like, you can't deny that, but that's in that stretch is a bad losing streak, right? And I think, everybody's, look at Vegas, right? They just went through that stretch, right? Before Edmonton did, right? That's how Edmonton caught up to them, isn't it? Like, Vegas
Yeah,
just
that's
went
how.
through a little
Yeah.
stretch to 3-7. So
Yeah.
good teams go through stretches. It happens, right? You gotta, we talk about peaking at the right time. I mean, I guess we could say, hey, at least we're not peaking at peaking right near or before the playoffs, right? Maybe we can get going down the last stretch, right? The last 10-15 games. That would be I don't know. All right. Who knows? Quaddy says you guys are missing the Nux Flames pillow fight for 8th. True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. Two teams we love watching here over at Oilers Live. Love watching lose. And I know that one's going into overtime. Somebody's getting a loser point. Guys, when you hear all this news, right? And I'm going to start with you, Lotzi, because I mean, you consistently hammer on this. Let's keep this team really well stocked with future prospects, everything like that. But the team needs something right now. I don't know if it's like deadline related, what it is. What do you think going down the stretch? I mean, what do you think's kind of the number one thing this team needs to do, right? Like, what's got to change for the Oilers right now to kind of make this stretch drive and bring it home? Like, is it defense? Is it, offense? What's I know you could say all of it because that's kind of how it's felt, but pick something. Like, to you, what's the most concerning thing that they need to change?
I'm gonna go with the option about relying too much on the top dogs, or more in this case, Leon Draisaitl, because Connor isn't exactly playing up to his normal level either. So, like, Connor Brown's got one goal in his last 30 some odd games or something like that. Like that was a long drought that he broke on Saturday when he scored. Go up and down the list. Arvidsson had a goal Saturday. That was his first one in a long time. Yeah, Mark hasn't. I don't think he's shot one past a goalie yet this season. Henrique hasn't done too much. Cap and like everybody but Perry and Leon up front essentially is having a down year. So they got to pick up their socks and find a way to produce and find a way to contribute.
Yeah.
We got to get some secondary scoring somehow.
Yeah, they really do. They really do. Patrick, thoughts?
Yeah, well, in the video I was watching before we sat down tonight, I think the Oilers are first in expected goals for, and like they were showing the chances they're missing. Like, they have wide open nets and they're throwing it into the goalie's pads, or just to Quaddy's point, they're like really bad puck luck. So, and also to Lotzi's point there with not getting any secondary scoring. I mean, this team, like, it's got to improve everywhere, but we said we wouldn't choose that answer. But offense, like, they should be scoring more than enough goals to win hockey games, to allow for 2, maybe even 3 bad goals against in a game, because they should be winning like 6-3, something like that. So they got to find some ways to put the puck in that. Absolutely.
I mean, you guys are like 100% right. I mean, they have to score. This was the team, right, that was supposed to win every game 6-3, right? Like you said, 7-3, 7-2. Maybe more 7-3 than 7-2, right? Like, this is not meant to be a defensive team.
Yeah, like we were touting how deep we were at the start of the season, like after having signed Skinner and Arvidsson, and then you got Hyman, you got Nuge, you got the top dogs. You got Henrique playing a third line for you. Maybe Brown has a resurgent year after a nice playoff run, right? Like we were looking promising, but just hasn't gone that way. And the one thing we've had the last 2 years that we definitely don't have this year is somebody aside from Connor and Leon putting up career numbers. Right, 2 years ago it was Nugent Hopkins that got 100 points. Last year, Jaime got 54 goals. We aren't seeing any kind of performance anywhere close to that from the fringe players this year.
Yeah, I mean, go back to Brown, right? I mean, we talked about it last episode. We'll continue to talk about it just because he got one goal, which was a lucky one at that, right?
Yep.
I mean, but that's the kind of goals he needs to score. He needs to score those types of goals, and he needs to do it more often. Some stranger says scoring isn't as big an issue as defense and goaltending. And I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, right? Like it's, like I said, this was not meant to be a defensive team. It just wasn't. In fact, we didn't think we figured we'd outscore all the defensive mistakes, right? And arguably, certain players like Darnell Nurse have played better defensively this year. Some guys,
Kulak.
Bouchard, Kulak's been outstanding. Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole idea with this team is that Skinner and Picker just have to keep it to 3 goals or less because we're probably going to score more than 3 more often than not. And that just hasn't been the case. And if those guys let in a bad goal in those circumstances, it just exemplifies the point even more when it's like, we can't score any goals and then they're giving up a bad 1 or 2 every game. Like it's just all going wrong.
Yeah.
And having said that, let me just see here. I've got Money Puck up here in a tie for 8th in the league at 5-on-5 goals for and goals against. We are opposite way here. I mean, 22nd most. We're 22nd in goals against at 134. Right, so I see some strangers point. Like I get it. Like we're still getting a reasonable amount of offense, and the puck's not staying out of our net. We got some defensemen who aren't playing as well as they normally can. Like the Ekholm Bouchard pairing hasn't been as good defensively in my eyes this year. Skinner's having a down year compared to his last 2, and so Pickard's not as good as last year. So yeah, there are some defensive issues as well. I don't think they're playing as I don't think they're doing a good job playing to the system as well as they did last year. I think that plays a big role in it as well. And like as you said, it's all a problem, right? But I think the bigger concern for me is the scoring or like the lack of finish, just because we expect that to be higher. The defense is probably performing around where we expected them to.
Yeah, I think so. I feel that way. Like I even get a sense that way. The defense is not so bad. But what's our numbers in terms of turnovers? Where do we sit in the league on that? I mean, everybody's constantly on Bouchard, of course, for turning over the puck. I look at it and I just, I don't know. I just think he always did that, right? Like I don't see that as any different than last year. I just think the results have been different, right?
He is averaging turnovers per 60. If you look at turnovers per 60, like it's a career high by a significant margin this year for Bouchard.
Okay.
It is. But if you look at like the ratio of puck touches to giveaways, he actually does quite well. Right, I think he's in the top 5 for defensemen in that regard. Right, he doesn't give it away he gives it away on a low percentage of his touches. Giveaways to opponent. Here we go. Just to answer your question, we're 20th in giveaways.
20th to
the opponent.
20th meaning
the 20th
like
most.
20th most. Okay. So that's not bad, right? Like we're in the bottom third of the league in giveaways.
Yeah.
You know, Knobloch called the team out for turnovers after the Buffalo game, right? Of course, I mean, you know, you can give the puck away at different times, and it means different things, right? You know, when Bouchard gives the puck away, it's in the offensive zone at the blue line, and the player's home free, right? You know, or if you give it away in the corner, it's not as big a deal, right?
Like the McDavid giveaway in the last minute of the Carolina game at the offensive blue line, tracking backwards, and it's a shorthanded breakaway going the other way, right? And I know Leon's had a few lately, same sort of spot on the right hand side, working from the high half wall over towards the blue line, gets stripped, it's going the other way. It's like the best players on the team aren't exempt from this either.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it is a little bit like it's a little bit crazy, right? Like it's you know, it's just a matter of like the whole team has got this thing on their back right now, and none of them are doing the right thing. So I got to ask the question: either of you think it's a coaching problem?
I don't think it's a coaching problem. I think that's the last thing this team needs is to consider another coaching change. They need some friggin' stability here. But I mean, not to say that Chris Knobloch is completely devoid of blame. Chris Knobloch, I think, has made some mistakes, but welcome to this whole franchise. Everyone's making mistakes right now, but I don't think it should be anything that costs Chris Knobloch his job. Ultimately, it's the players on the ice that have to get it done, and the players aren't getting it done. And people have been saying like Chris Knobloch doesn't seem to be coaching the same way as he did last year, and I think there's some point to that, but I think it's putting trust sometimes in the wrong guys. Like you have a guy like we talk about all the time in Jeff Skinner, and he's not a perfect player by any stretch of the imagination, but he seems to be a scapegoat for a lot of things, and a lot of other guys will make mistakes, and there never seems to be any punishment. Like I saw some people celebrating today because they thought Matthias Janmark was getting scratched, but the only reason he wasn't at practice was he was sick. Like it wasn't for a scratch. And
Yeah.
Knobloch said in his availability, if Janmark's good to go tomorrow, he's playing. So I don't know. And not to say just point out Matthias Janmark, but maybe that can be the point against Chris Knobloch that he's putting his trust sometimes in the wrong guys.
Ryan, any thoughts?
I saw something the other day. It was like Knobloch and Woodcroft have basically the same record because they've now coached the same number of games, right? And their records are near identical.
Which is
Knobloch's
another
done a
point
lot
as to why we shouldn't make another coaching change. Chris
Yeah,
Knobloch's
exactly.
already tied Jay Woodcroft.
Yeah, at some point it's not the coaches anymore. Like I agree with that point. Like the players are the ones on the ice, and a lot of them are not playing up to their capabilities. They got to stop wearing their butts as hats. You know, it's gotta see some sunlight. You get what I'm trying to say. They got to play better, right? Knobloch has a system that we know works. When they stick to it, they're very good at shot suppression. They make Skinner's life real easy when they're sticking to the system and playing well. And when they're not playing well, they're really susceptible to rush chances coming the other way. And we've seen that a lot lately. But when they're playing well, that doesn't seem to happen, right? It's just a little bit of more responsibility and maturity all over the ice and a little more connectedness as a team. And I think they can get there. But and I don't agree with some of the decisions Knobloch's made, like the treatment of Skinner, and it's a clear bias in my opinion. I don't like that. I feel like Skinner should be in a top 6 role, and you make it work because that's where that player has the highest odds of success. Like I always disagree with a lot of line decisions that coaches make, right? Like that's every coach going back to Tom Rennie, if you want to go
Yeah.
that far back, right?
And every
So like,
fan
there's
is
always
going
going to
back
be,
to the beginning of time.
yeah, exactly. There's always going to be little things that coaches do that you disagree with, but grand scheme of things, I think Knobloch has been good. I think the big reason that Woodcroft got let go is because of his refusal to hold players accountable. Like he benched Leon earlier in the year. He's benched Bouchard for a few shifts here or there lately, right? So like, he's not afraid to hold the star players accountable when need be. So that's a big difference between him and Knobloch, or him and Woodcroft. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Patrick, you kind of hit it on the head. Like at some point, the players have to be accountable, right? Like, we can't just go through and change every time there's a bad stretch. Go and change the coaching, right? Like, we've done, or not we, but the collective we, the Oilers have done a lot of different things, and love them or hate them, and say they've screwed up this or screwed up that, right? Like there are some challenges in running an Oilers franchise that we hate to admit as Oilers fans, and a lot of us love our home of Edmonton, but it's it's not the ideal place to play. I know I'm going to be back in Edmonton this weekend for the heavy hockey showdown. I'm leaving 14, 15 degree temperatures to go play in 13, 14 below zero temperatures, right? And then there's the travel, right? Like it's taking me 10 hours to get there, and guys have to travel a lot if you play in Edmonton. So all these things sort of add up. And there's the fans. Let's be, let's be honest. Like the Oilers fans are passionate, right?
Yeah, we're a
And when you
PG
say
bunch. What are you
fans are,
talking about?
yeah, yeah. When you say passionate, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean a good thing, right? Like it just means there's a lot of assholes out there, right? And so, all of those things, it's not everybody's like, wow, I love trade deadline time. People say, just trade for, go get Rantanen. Like, you got to give something up, right? Or you got to provide something. I know we get peeved about all the no move clauses, but there's a reason why Edmonton ends up with no move clauses because it's Edmonton and it's a tough place to play, right? And we're lucky and fortunate as Oilers fans to have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and Draisaitl signed for a long period of time. I think without those two in the lineup, we'd probably get nobody, right? Like we probably wouldn't, we'd be in the same position Buffalo's in, right? With no clear path out. But guys see that, McDavid and Draisaitl are there and they want to play. So, all of those things being said, right? Like this is, the Oilers got to do what they got to do, right? Like they got to be accountable. And Patrick, like, hit it on the head. It's like, you can change coaches year over year. You can change the players. When you got Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, it's about time, that the whole team needs to pony up and just be better.
Yeah.
Like just be better, like do something better than what you're doing, and accountability for everybody. I think that's where the coaching staff comes in too. I know the wrong guys being held accountable this year. There's not been a game where I've watched Jeff Skinner and thought, let's get that guy off the freaking ice, right? Like, I've not been upset with Jeff Skinner on any given day. Janmark, yes. Connor Brown, yes. Right? Like, not every game. Some games I love Janmark. Some games I love, but you can't tell me. Some stranger said in the comments before, our PK hasn't been that good this year. So you can't tell me that Janmark's in because of the PK. It's not been that good. So, some level of accountability, and that's on Knobloch. He's got to do that. And to my other point is some level of trust in the players too. I talked about this last week, right? I think that Knobloch's got to get out of that cycle of, which he didn't do the last few games. I don't know if you noticed. He hasn't done after the PK always Connor and Leon. We know that, right? But when he's trusting the players to play their game, he does that. That's the only time he does that. And I feel like the last 3 or 4 games, which may have been the Oilers' best games in the last 10, surprise, surprise. Like he hasn't played that line together all the time. Maybe it's because he doesn't feel like he needed to, but I think when you trust all of the players, Jones comes in, brings a different level of energy. I think that helps, right?
Yeah.
Wallman comes in, brings a different level of energy. I think that helps. We're missing players, right? We've got now Frederick, who we don't know, right? Like we have no idea, but I think he's going to bring really good energy. Got Kane coming in. I know, Ryan, you're not expecting him to be, top 6, but he's got to be like a good third line guy, right?
Guaranteeing anything.
well, you'd think so, right? Like at the very least, he increases the depth on this team. So this team's got, and Ekholm's been out, and when Ekholm wasn't out, Nurse was out, right?
Mhm.
So this is, I think. I hate giving him excuses, but but we haven't seen the team yet. We don't know. We don't know what the team looks like. We just got to hope that the team is healthy come playoff time. And we've seen other teams healthy come playoff time do well in the NHL, Vegas.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a different team, I think, than what we've seen. I think they got it in them. What's the biggest?
They've shown us.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
They've shown us they can do it before, right? We have some new faces this year. We lost a little bit of youth, a little bit of exuberance, some speed from last year's team, but I think we got a little of it back at the deadline. Maybe not the same way, right? Like Jones isn't going to be as much of a contributor as Fogle or McLeod or Holloway were last year. Frederick might be. We don't know yet. That's certainly going to help.
Yeah, I'm like for Trent Frederick, like we don't, like to your point, Ryan, like we don't know what exactly he's going to be yet, but I think if he potentially like can work out on the wing in the top 6, like you can kind of like reshape your top 6 and how it looks. Like maybe somebody who's playing in the top 6 can move down and make the third line even stronger. And I think it has the possibility, like if Trent Frederick could be someone like Pat Maroon, who has that toughness and can score as well. And we've seen in past seasons that Frederick can put the puck in the net. Maybe that just adds a new element to the team in multiple different ways. So I'm excited, like cautiously optimistic, but hoping that he can come in. And if Evander Kane can come in, even be half of what he normally is, then yeah, I think that can be like 2 huge additions that we haven't seen to this team that could give them some life, because they've seemed lifeless at times too. So these are 2 guys that could really bring some energy and maybe get some other guys going as well. And it could be a trigger effect through the whole team. But obviously we're going to have to wait for if Evander Kane does come back at all for the Stanley Cup playoffs, but let's see what Trent Frederick can do here in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Is that what the word is? A couple weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Frederick being top 6. I know a lot of people want that. I just don't see it. I mean, last year he got 40 points. That was kind of his peak. That's kind of the minimum level of production I'd feel comfortable putting somebody at the top 6 in. And he's at like half of that on a per 60 rate this year, right? Like his production has dropped essentially by half. So like I personally think the best fit for him is going to be somewhere on that third line, and I think the idea from Bowman is either third line center or top 6 wing, one of the 2, make it work. Rico hasn't exactly worked out as 3C, so maybe he goes down to 4C. Frederick is 3C. You get yourself a third line that can be a little more physical, maybe defend a little better, maybe contribute a little more. I don't know, but I think Frederick has the chance to reshape with the third line, which I think it needs it more than what the top 6 needs reshaping.
Yeah. I mean, the challenge to me looks like the McDavid line needs something, right? Like needs a boost.
That's where I
Yeah,
think Frederick could work. He's on the McDavid line. Yeah.
Like I wouldn't mind seeing Nuge back with Draisaitl for a bit, and maybe even put Nuge and Hyman with Draisaitl and put somebody else with McDavid. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be clicking. Although you said, Ryan, earlier that McDavid hasn't been the same. I think the last 3 games he's been outstanding. Like he might not, it might not be showing, but he's been outstanding. Like he looks like he's skating the superhuman way McDavid knows how to skate. He's made some plays. He's just like he's ready for a breakout, right? Like a 3-4 point game. Hard to believe nobody on is it did I hear that right? The other game, nobody on the Oilers has had a hat trick this year.
Yeah, you heard that right. Yep.
It's crazy. It's
And
crazy.
didn't Hyman have like 5 of them last year or something just himself?
Yeah,
Isn't that
exactly.
insane? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone should tell you, right? 3-3 in the Canucks Flames game. Big surprise. That one's going overtime. Big surprise. Although it is a bit of a surprise that both those teams could score 3 goals. So that one's big.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Must have pulled the goalies or something.
Yeah. maybe. Playing posts.
Although for the Oilers, that wouldn't be an advantage. They can't hit an open net to save their lives.
Yeah. Isn't that something? Right? Like likely Richard Trophy winner, and he can't hit an empty net. I actually haven't watched the Oilers this much, probably less than ever, but I always like watching the warm up when I'm at the game. And of course, Draisaitl takes that shot at the net. And that usually is my thermometer for how the game's going to go. But I assume he's still doing that, right? Do you guys watch?
Perry's kind of taken over that. Dry doesn't usually stay out that late anymore, but yeah, Perry does that now.
Maybe that's
Perry's
problem.
always the last one off. Yeah.
That's the problem right there, guys. I think we found it. Don't mess with the hockey gods, right? That's what took them to Game 7.
Yeah, but Perry has 14 goals, so he can do what he wants.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean...
or 15
Corey
now,
Perry,
I can't remember.
Right? Yeah. Like, that's all right. That is
Yeah.
all right. So, I mean, look, the lines might need a bit of a shakeup. You were right, Lottie. Like, they refused to put Nurse and Bouchard on the same pairing. We thought it was going to happen the other day. I literally
Those
thought
cowards. I tell you.
like, I thought that was the only thing you could possibly do, but no, they put the rookie out there with Bouchard, and he performed well, right? Cam Dineen, I thought he had a great game.
Yeah, he did play well that game. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nurse Bouchard, I looked into the numbers a little bit deeper a while back, and they're high event. We'll say that. Like I know the concern from everybody is they're both terrible defensively, so that's going to be a nightmare defensively. And the numbers say that's not necessarily wrong. I just know that they're that much better offensively as well. Their possession numbers are usually really good. The goal share doesn't match the expected goal share rate or the expected goals for rate. So I kind of want to see that play out a little bit more, and then maybe you get a shutdown pairing with Ekholm and maybe Wallman now. I don't know. Hey, Wallman is an intriguing mix into all this. Like that's throwing a wrench into everything, and there's a lot of fun possibilities with him involved.
Yeah. I mean, that's Wallman's changed everything, right? Like in terms of how you look at the defense. I mean, we went from, maybe a top 3 to a top 4 now, D, right? Arguably, depending on how you feel about Bouchard. There's about 50-50 in the chat. Love Bouchard. And, well, no, I don't think anybody loves Bouchard in the chat. I haven't seen any love Bouchard comments. But I'm a Bouchard fan. Like, I think he's got value. I think, things will change. Once the playoffs come, things will change. I think once this team gets a little bit of confidence back, things will change. This team's destined for a little bit more than what we've seen. And I'm excited about, we got a blip, right? We know that. Like, this is a blip. This is, 3-7, last 10. But we've got Ekholm, Bouchard, Nurse, Wallman, Kulak. Would you not have loved to go into the playoffs last year with those guys on your defense?
It's a significant upgrade over last year's team. I guess the only real difference in those 5 that you're talking about is CC, like Waltman over CC. Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's an obvious upgrade.
Like, I think that's pretty damn good, right? I mean, and Emberson, I think has played reasonable enough to be in the 6th D man. And if not Emberson, Klingberg, right? Like the guy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, if you put Klingberg in there and he finds his game at all, that's a hell of a 6 defenseman group, right?
And I honestly haven't minded Stetcher's game all season long. Like, I think he's been underrated. I think he's been sneaky good. Yeah. And especially playing with Nurse and a lot of the time in the second pairing role, which is probably a little over where he should be.
And what his cap hit is.
And what his cap hit is. Yeah, he's acquitted himself nicely, I think. So, and he's going to be your number 9 right now. Or number 8. Yeah. My math is bad.
Yeah, I love our depth, like having guys like Cam Dineen and, well, Travis Dermott, but still, like, these are guys that are out that you can call up if you need, right? So it's not horrible.
Yeah, and even Josh Brown, like, things have gone real wrong if Brown's in your lineup, but he can play in the NHL. He's done it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having those guys there if you have to call them up, right? Especially in the playoffs, if somebody needs a maintenance game or something, right? Like, nothing
things
wrong.
Go wrong. Like, Cody Ceci got scratched in the conference finals last year. Vinny Darnay got scratched in the conference finals last year. Broberg came in and was excellent, right? So it's good to have guys waiting in the wings.
There's some depth on this team. Like, folks are upset right now, but there's some depth on this team. Depth on D. There's even some depth on forward if some of these guys can find their game.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get back to full health, like you're talking about Frederick and Kane, and by the time those guys get back, we'll be like 16 guys deep, 16, 17 forwards deep.
And not like, Frederick and Kane are nothing to, like, if they're at all what you want from them, that's significant, right? I actually wouldn't mind seeing Frederick play with Draisaitl. Like, to me, that would be good. Or with McDavid, right? Like, both Draisaitl and McDavid, like, they, as we know, as Oilers fans, I mean, Draisaitl the whole year has been doing it on his own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The only crazy thing about it is that, like, Podkolzin doesn't have 100 points with him, right? Like, he's been out there. He's just not like the guy that's, seemingly cashing in off of Draisaitl's great efforts, right? It is odd though, right? Isn't it, for a guy like to have that kind of a season and not to have a winger that's like along for the ride?
It is kind of crazy to think that he's Podkolzin, like you say, doesn't produce. All he does is hunt pucks and hit people. And Leon likes that, right? Like, he likes having a winger to do that because he doesn't like to do that for him. I don't know if you caught that interview a little while back. He's talked about it a couple times throughout the year, but he's more than happy to have a guy like that on his line. But the other spot, like whether it's been Arvidsson or Skinner or whoever you want to put there, hasn't worked. But yet Leon's still finding a way to light it up.
Yeah. I like Patrick's in the chat right now. He's breaking hearts. He's breaking hearts. Is Klingberg banged up? Is that where
minor injury? Yeah.
I don't think he's going to find his way back into the lineup for a while anyway.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I want to see I wouldn't mind seeing Klingberg back when Ekholm gets back for a little bit of a stretch. Have that top 60, right? Everybody
Like,
out.
as much as we
Yeah.
as much as we like Emberson, there's no reason he can't sit for a couple of games.
Yeah, I think it'd be good for him, right? He's still a young guy. He's still got. I've been happy with Emberson, right? Like he's not replacing Broberg by any stretch, but
No.
he's not been terrible, right? Like he's done what you wanted out of him. I think he's played a lot of games, right? Like he's been all right. He's been all right.
He's been a third pairing right D that you haven't noticed too much all season. That's what we kind of needed from that guy.
Wonder what's going on with that contract though, because he was supposed to be signed already. Well, at least that's what the talk was. Emberson.
Emberson was
he
supposed to be
switched.
signed.
There was rumors they were going
he
to
did
get
switch
it done in
agents, yeah.
January. Yeah, he switched agents and nothing's happened yet. But we know he's not he avoided the Group 6 UFA status, so like he's going to be an RFA. So like there's no rush.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, be silly for him not to want to be in Edmonton, right? I mean, you're not going to get much better of an opportunity.
Yeah.
We've kind of skipped over it. The other public enemy number one's, of course, the other Skinner, Stuart Skinner. Goaltending, like what is that? Do either of you think that the Oilers screwed up by not getting another goalie?
Not at all.
No.
Not
I think
all.
Skinner still would have been the guy anyway.
Yeah.
Like I was fine with them getting like an insurance goalie, but it still would have been Skinner that would be the main guy between the pipes. I'm just thinking like a guy that could have spelled them off for a few games here or there. But
we've got our first fire Dustin Schwartz in the chat. And I mean, he's the one with the biggest no move clause, right? Year over year. We got a goalie. We were talking about it today. Playing out in where is he? In Sweden?
Sweden, yeah.
Sweden.
Samuel Jonsson.
Yeah. Just won goaltender of the year, was it?
Or I believe that's what it was, but having a heck of a season in the SHL.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, that's good. It's good to have those kind of prospects in your system, right? I don't think the Oilers have had that. We've already talked about Wallstead and missing Wallstead. We have that argument over and over again. And
PTSD.
I mean, that was.
I was so excited. I'm like, they're gonna get him. They're what? What do you mean they're making a trade for what?
I was just like, run to the stage, do it. And then yeah, I had the same reaction. I may have been a little more profane though.
Yeah,
like in a group chat.
I might have been more profane.
One of my buddies was on a road trip with his wife and kids, and he was driving, and he got his wife to read out some of the texts that were coming in the group chat at that particular moment. Yeah, that was a rough car ride for them. Listening to my rant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Oilers, like on the goaltending side, I think I'm with you. I don't know that was a mistake not getting goaltending at the deadline. Had they, though, I think a lot of Oilers fans would have felt better. But look, you've invested a lot of effort in Stuart Skinner, right? And he's had stretches where he's been solid. And, as every Oilers fan loves to point out, you just need average goaltending.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all this team needs. Average goaltending.
And for everybody that wanted John Gibson, nobody picked up John Gibson.
No.
Like, if he was that amazing, somebody should have traded for him.
Yeah. I mean, you'd think so. I mean, but the challenge, like, who wants that? You got to do the contract. You got to do everything. Like, that's just messy all around. Right? Like, what would have happened? Like that's the kind of deal that happens in a 3-way deal. when your starter's injured, only to get another starter that's going to be injured.
Then you're just creating a goalie controversy at that point, right? Like, unless Skinner was going the other way, which I think a lot of people would have been totally fine with, right? But if it's Skinner Gibson, I think you got a goaltending controversy on your hands, and you got two unhappy goalies that want number one ice time. So that was a problem. But yeah, I got you guys. You've heard me talk about Gibson the last few weeks. I did the piece on him and Skinner and Vejmelka a couple of weeks ago. I think it was correct to not buy high on an outlier season at this stage of John Gibson's career. And I think it would be an expensive problem on your roster for the next couple seasons. Yeah, like if you think you're mad about Skinner at $2.6 million and being a homegrown prospect, what you're getting from that now, if you're going to get less than what you're getting from Skinner now next year with John Gibson on the books for $6.4 million and having spent assets to go get him, yikes! Talk about anger then.
But that's always the funny thing, right? Is management could go after a guy like that, but nobody's going to be happy with what you give up. It's just not gonna, it's just not gonna happen. Yeah. Who's the guy that I'm just reading? Not just now, but reading Jackie's article. Right. If you guys go to heavyhockey.com, Jackie B put up an article and, talking about the supporting cast, the call for reinforcements. Who's the one guy on this team that needs to, like, you think out of all of them? And she's got a pretty exhaustive list here. Right. There's seven people on her list. So I'll read it out. I'm going to read it out in random order. You guys don't look at it. Are you looking at it, Patrick? You looking at the article?
No.
You're looking at it.
A little bit.
And I didn't
You told me to go there.
like that either.
You can't change your instructions halfway through.
Yeah, I know. I got to speak faster. All right. I'll give you the order. I think this is like a top-down list for Jackie in terms of who needs to step up first to last. Maybe we can just talk about Jackie's article, talk about where we agree, where we don't agree. In number 1, Vasily Podkolzin. Number 2, Victor Arvidsson. Number 3, and this is big for Jackie because I think she's a Nuge fan, is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Number 4, who I probably would have bumped up a couple, Connor Brown. Number 5, Adam Henrique. Number 6, Jeff Skinner. I don't think that's fair. I mean, it's hard to make a
You have to play
difference
first.
when you play, when you're not playing. And then number 7, Evan Bouchard. Now, if you, for those of you online, go to heavyhockey.com. Title of the article is The Call for Reinforcements. Guys, take that 7 or take off somebody off the board. I'll start. I keep asking you guys first, and then I get to respond. I'm gonna just say Arvidsson. Like, if you're gonna play Arvidsson that much, right? He's got to be better. He's just got to be like. I referred to him about a month or so ago as Yamo Light. And that's what I see every game is a guy that does all of those things that Leon wants, but just doesn't seem. He doesn't even get the puck on the net for that. I don't know what his shots are, but they can't be that high. Like that shot the other night, I don't know where that came from, but I mean, oh man, like we need more of that, But he's got to step it up. I mean, this was a guy that we were pretty excited about. Now, everybody not everybody, but few people says, well, there's playoff Arvidsson. It's a little bit different. So
There better be.
Yeah, there better be. And it better happen. We better see a little bit of that first, or there won't be playoff Arvidsson. We'll be on the outside looking in. But yeah, no, Arvidsson's number 1 for me. Ryan.
I think number 1 for me, it's got to be Nuge. this is a guy
Hard to argue.
that you expect him to be like. First of all, he's what years an assistant captain, right? You're expecting him to be one of your leaders. He impacts every facet of the game, right? He plays in your top line, and the offensive production is way down, right? That line hasn't been working all season long. He's on the power play, and the power play runs through him in many ways. Like he's a big part of it, and that hasn't been working as well this year. And it's been a lot more Connor Leon Bouchard touches than Nugent Hopkins and Hyman touches, right? And the PK. He's a big part of the PK as well, and the PK hasn't been as good this year as it was last year. It can't ever be as good as it was in the playoffs last year. But I'm even talking about throughout the regular season last year too. So Nuge touches all three of those phases of the game, and all of those phases are weaker than what they were last year. And this is a guy that we're giving a hefty pay rate or a hefty cap hit to, right? 5.125 million. He's an assistant captain on part of your core. He's got to be better.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Hard to argue that. I mean, Arvidsson, Nuge, but you're right. Nuge is certainly more important to this team than Arvidsson is or ever has been. There is a guy called the Faithful Fanatic. Like is that your brother, Patrick?
Second cousin.
Second cousin, yeah. He's got a big family, like 8,000 of them. Patrick, thoughts?
I'm kind of going back and forth in between Adam Henrique and Evan Bouchard. I mean, there's aside from Jeff Skinner, I don't think Jeff Skinner belongs on this list, but there's points that could be made for every guy on this list. Bouchard, I guess I'll go Bouchard, but just because he's really important to the Oilers offense on the power play. And what does he have, like 2 power play goals this year or something stupid like that? And the first one finally came on an empty net. I mean, that's just for what is expected of Evan Bouchard is not good enough. He's got to be doing more for this team, and he makes mistakes like everyone else does. We were talking about the big Connor McDavid mistake that led to the Carolina breakaway. So I'm not going to hold too many mistakes on him, but I think he's got to be better. And I'm surprised we're seeing this play from him in a contract year as well. It might actually benefit the Oilers that he's kind of playing down in a contract year, might get the number down a bit more, but overall, we would like Evan Bouchard to be dominating the NHL. I think that's better for the Oilers overall, although getting the number down on his contract is nice too. We want this team to have success, though. So, yeah, I think Evan Bouchard in so many facets, power play goals, his defensive play. I love the guy. I don't want Bouchard to go anywhere, but he's definitely someone on this list that has to be better.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's crazy, right? It's crazy that this team is where it is, though. I think about this, like the silver lining is this team still top 10 in the league.
Yeah.
And, Quaddy said in the chat earlier, he said could be 10 or 11 guys that need to be better, right? Like, that's maybe a testament to Nuge and or not Nuge, to McDavid and Draisaitl, right? Like that, they're dragging this team along with them. But 100%, like there could be 10 or 11 guys. I mean, there's guys on Jackie's list, or guys that aren't on Jackie's list. I don't think Janmark wasn't even on the list. He should have been. He could be number 1, right? For sure.
You could put Hyman on that list too.
Yeah, Hyman, right? Like Hyman started slow and he's never quite picked it up, right? You don't see the same. I don't know. When Hyman touched the puck last year, you'd get a little bit excited, right? Maybe he's too busy managing the junior team. I don't know, right? But he hasn't been awful. It's not like he's been absolutely horrendous.
I'm willing to give him a little bit of a break just because I thought 54 was an outlier last year, right? It's like I don't expect that from him again, right? Like that was just an insane season. Just like I don't expect 100 points from Nugent Hopkins ever again. Like that was fantastic what he did. right? It's just they're below what we should expect from them as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Hyman's not, there's no way, like, you can't go from 50, what was it, 54? You said? Yeah, 54 down to, I mean, he's on pace for what, just over 20? Right?
I haven't looked, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Something
that
around- something
number
around
sounds
there.
right.
Or no, sorry, not he's at 22 right now. I'm just looking it up. Sorry, I was thinking, I mean, so he might make 30 for the season.
Which is really, there's nothing wrong with that. That's pretty
No,
good.
there's not. I mean,
30
it's
goal scorer is
30
a good
more
hockey
goals
player.
than I've ever scored in the NHL.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been. He used to, like, he scored half of his goals by people banking it off of him, right? But you got to be a good wall in order to do that, right? And he just hasn't. That hasn't been his play. Maybe that, the Oilers' offense has changed. I don't know, but they haven't. That hasn't been his play. Used to be last year, the year before, if Nuge was off of the power play, it was shit because the play would go through Nuge, right? Like it just. But now he's non-existent. Ace 96 says he's looking a lot better the last 2 to 3 games.
And I have a lot more faith in Zach Hyman, like going back to some of those guys like Adam Henrique, Matthias Janmark. They got me worried just because we signed those guys to 3-year deals, and they're looking bad in year one of those deals. It's like Hyman, I think, can always kind of rely on for at least a decent year. So I'm more worried about those guys.
Are we re-signing Skinner in the offseason?
Unless he's a sucker for punishment.
Yeah.
Maybe if Knobloch gets fired.
Would you re-sign Connor Brown? I mean, doubtful, right? Like, he's had
not based on this year. No.
Yeah, not based on this year.
Of course, watch him score the goal that wins the Stanley Cup, and then he's gonna get a 6-year deal or something.
Well, and he didn't show up last year till the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a good playoffs will get you a contract, won't it?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Like, I wouldn't be too upset with Brown as my fourth line right winger. Like, if my expectations for him are low, to just go out there, play some good defense, kill some penalties, do it for around $1 million a year, I could live with that, right? Are we like going to get Corey Perry back next year? Dude's 40 or about to turn 40, right? How much longer has he got left? He's having a fantastic season. I love him for it, but like, he's 40. Not exactly future planning.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, you can't. Corey Perry's not going to be the future of this organization. That's for sure. Not at 40, but he's been good, right? I think he's been solid. I think there's probably a lot of intangibles to having Corey Perry. He's been some nights the only tough guy on the team, right? He's he's still dropping the gloves, and he's going to hit 40. I don't know. Some guy's fantasizing about me now in the chat. It's a little weird. All right. We got, I think, this Oilers team, though, right? Like, one of the things that we haven't thought much about is, the fact they went to Game 7, right? They went to Game 7 in a year where we've got this super condensed schedule. There was a point at which I was tired of watching hockey games. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, not tired. I love watching Oilers hockey games, but it's like they went to Game 7, and then all of a sudden it's, like, I don't even have time to watch every game.
Yeah.
How much does that affect this team? Right? Look at Florida's not the same team so far. Right?
They had a good trade deadline, though.
And they're still winning their division right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the actual comparison is for points.
They're
Let's look that up.
8-2-0. Yeah, I'd like to see. I mean, you can go back.
Florida's got 83 right now, and the Oilers have 78. So 5-point difference. Is like Florida is about the same as Vegas at 83 points.
Yeah.
And like they seem to be getting stronger as the season goes on, whereas the Oilers things got real rough for them in February. I had a little bit of a theory. We had that cold snap in February. It seems like the team always goes down the crapper whenever we have a cold snap. The timing always seems to line up nicely for a Oilers slump and a cold snap where we're like -20, -30, somewhere in that range. So I feel like there's a bit of a correlation there. Back to your Edmonton comments about earlier, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I mean, let's be honest. Who loves getting up in the morning, at 6 a.m. in the morning in a -20 degree. And it was freaking cold for you guys this year, right? Like it was cold.
Well,
Yeah.
February
we had like
was.
a 2-3 February was. We had a 2-3
Yeah.
week stretch where it was like -20 plus or like -25-ish. And then the rest of the winter was pretty mild though, I would say.
Yeah, the last two
I-
winters have
I-
actually been pretty good.
As I sit here, there's a snowfall warning.
Right.
But
Yeah,
That
let's hope we
happens,
don't
though.
get stuck on the plane tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oilers going into a back-to-back. New Jersey, New York. I don't know that this is other than the back-to-back, I'm not going to go so far as to say this is a tough stretch. I think it's Utah after that, right? And then Winnipeg. Winnipeg's going to be a real, I think, treat if you're an Oilers fan, right? Like to see, of course, it's at home, so you get to see what this team's about, right? Like I think the team right now is getting motivated for these good teams. And it's fun to watch. I think it's fun to watch the Oilers when they're playing at their best. Like this, regardless of all of the things that we say tonight, when the Oilers are all playing at the top of their game, it's a hard team to beat. Just seemingly, maybe it's the weather. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's the water, right? Like
Something in the water.
Yeah, something's in the water. But when this team is playing at its top, we're talking about the defense when they've got all the players in there, talking about getting Frederick and Kane in the lineup. Like this is a good team. Like they got, it's been a funny year because I keep thinking they got to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. They were there. They had their shot, and yet. It's not good enough, right? Like you want as a fan for your team to lift the Stanley Cup, hardest trophy in the NHL, in the NHL, it's hardest trophy in the NHL to win, but hardest trophy in pro sports to win, right? Yeah. I think. But Ace 96, their A game makes them a top 5 team. I think it makes them a top 3 team, maybe top 1 or 2 team.
Just don't see it enough.
No, we don't. But I think we'll see it against Winnipeg, right? Like they play to those teams, right?
Well, I'm going on Tuesday against Utah, so they can do it that night too.
Against the guy I've been screaming I would have loved in an Oilers uniform.
Yeah.
Vejmelka. I've been saying that for 3 years now. I said that about Corey Perry. I willed that into existence, if you recall. A number of years ago, I kept saying we need, and I hate Corey Perry, or hated him. Now he's my favorite.
Why? What happened?
Yeah. Oh man. The guys I hate the most are the guys I want on the team, right? Obviously. Let's switch gears a second here. Quaddy brings up something that's in the news. Drug cheaters getting stronger, wonder how. We know what this is about, right? This is about the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts on this? This is, remember Vegas? Right? Well, go figure, right? Guys winning cups when other guys are, boosting their performance. Is this, is it as simple as he says? He was injured and took some drugs to kind of help him out, and oops, somebody put some roids in my milk, sort of thing, or are these guys cheaters? And if they are, do you question the Stanley Cup? And is 20 games enough? Right? Because it takes him. He's going to be playing in the playoffs, right? Takes him pretty much right up to. Is it right up to the playoffs? I think he might miss.
He'll miss the first 2 games.
First 2 games, which could be big, right?
It could matter.
Yeah,
potentially.
And did they know this suspension was coming, which is part of the reason they picked up Seth Jones?
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be, right? No, they had to have known, right? Like that shit doesn't happen it doesn't happen in one day, right? Like that's the kind of thing that they have a hearing in the back. Like 20 games, there's a hearing, right? Like there's all of that going on. Unless if I missed that, but I didn't hear about that, right?
It was a surprise.
Yeah. So it wasn't a surprise to them, right? Like they knew before the deadline. That stuff doesn't happen overnight, and he might have even told the team, like, look, when that test comes back, guys, like my usual guy that pees in the cup for me wasn't available. So we're going to be in some trouble here. Let's start lobbying for 20 games instead of the season suspension. Yeah. I mean, anyway, I'm asking, like, what do you guys think? Is this, does this call into question his last season? Is this at all tarnished that? What are your thoughts? I mean, guys have been tarnished in baseball for less, right?
I feel like we need more info on exactly what was taken, right? Because but we've seen this in other sports too, where an athlete takes some sort of medication and there's some ingredient that happens to fall on this long list of banned substances that the specific league has banned. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're sitting there juicing, right? That's a very different thing. Based on what I've heard from or been able to piece together from what we've been allowed to see, that sounds like that's what happened. And I think a big word that's very important from Ekblad's announcement was recent. Right, he missed 8 games or 9 games in January with some sort of upper body injury, and that we're talking about a recent injury from which he was trying to recover. So I don't think this has anything to do with the last season at all. I think we're just looking at something to be angry about. And, right?
Well,
as
okay. I
Oilers
mean,
fans,
he's not going to say
flips
anything
in your head, right?
Every player that
gets
kicked out for that though it's gonna be a recent thing. Nah, I haven't been doing this my whole career, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like the fact that he got caught at all is damaging. The fact that he got 20 games is damaging. This is not like I took some Sudafed and there's a banned substance in there. There's something in there, right? Like
well, and that's how the league treats it though. Right? Like it doesn't matter what it is. If it's on the list, 20-game suspension, you're goodbye. Right? No ifs, ands, or buts. So I don't know. I have a hard time believing that guys are. I mean, it's not the steroid era from baseball or anything like that, right? And what have we seen? One other instance like this in the NHL in recent memory? Like I don't know. Like I just feel like we've seen enough from other sports where like the list of banned substances is kind of silly and people make mistakes. I get it. I get that people want to jump to the worst and jump to the controversial conclusion. Oh, he's cheating. Oh, he's doing this. Oh, he's doing that. Oh, give the Oilers the cup, right? Because that's fun for people, right? But I'm not buying that.
Wow. I mean, we should be giving the Oilers the cup.
I mean, look at
That'd be
me. I'm an
silly.
Oilers fan. Look at
It's like
my face.
it's like getting a gold medal like 6 months after the Olympics. Like it's just
Yeah, and I don't want to
it
win a
really
cup
doesn't.
that way. Like I want the on ice celebration at Rogers Place. Like screw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I was just about
yeah,
to say what
no.
Ryan said there. Yeah. I don't want to win it that way.
No, nobody does. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe somebody does. I don't know. Guys in the chat, are they able to act like that's LTIR when he's on suspension?
Doesn't matter now. The trade deadline's over and there's no roster limit. So and they had a bunch of LTIR space anyway. I think they used up some of it.
Good shot.
Like they got Marchand and Jones. But I don't know. The LTIR thing, like we're past deadline now. I don't think that's a concern.
Yeah. I mean, it's timing's another thing, right? I don't know. I don't like it. No, it doesn't matter what. Like it's suspended. Like guys know that, right? It's not like this is new. You're in professional sports. You got all sorts of shit. You know you can't put into your, like they know the supplements. There's certifying bodies that certify supplements that you take, right? Like it's professional sports. He screwed up. 20 games. Yeah, absolutely. Whether he's juicing or not, I don't know. I don't necessarily buy it's a recent thing. He got caught recently. That's what I buy. He got caught. Everybody's going to say it's recent. There's more guys doing performance enhancing drugs in the NHL and in pro sport than you realize. That's what I'll tell you. Right? Like it's hard. It's hard to make the NHL. And honestly, if you can get into the NHL and play 40 or 60 games because you took a few, extra drugs, hell yeah, right? Right? Like why not? You can't take that away from somebody, right? Like they got to the NHL and yeah, they're going to do it. Whether that's what Ekblad did, I don't know, but it's a little bit of a tarnishing spot on his record now. Right? 20 games is a big deal. He won't get paid for that. For him, that's probably around $2 million. Right? So that's a big deal. All right. So that's the Ekblad thing. I guess we're not taking his name off the cup. no big petition to take his name off the cup.
Well, what did Shane Pinto get suspended? Was it 50 games that Pinto got when he was gambling thing a couple years ago?
Yeah.
It was it 50?
It was big.
Like I didn't get like how Shane
Schmidt
Pinto's
got 20.
Yeah.
Right.
How Shane Pinto got so much more. Like I would consider what Aaron Ekblad did, right or wrong, worse than what Shane Pinto did.
41 games. Double.
Yeah.
In both cases, you're kind of playing with the word is escaping me, but just like the authenticity of the game, like the integrity of the game,
Integrity.
whether you're gambling on it and whether you're gambling in games that you're involved in or your team's involved in, or if you're taking performance enhancing substances. I can't talk right now, Jesus. But yeah, either way, you're compromising the integrity of the sport. So yeah, I don't know why one's worth 50 games and the other's worth 20.
Yeah, like
Come on,
those should be
Ryan.
the same in my eyes. Like, yeah,
you're supposed to know these things. Why not? They are the same, right? It's 20 games, 40 games. I don't know.
Well, you give Ekblad 41 games that potentially keeps him out for the playoffs.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, 2 games, if it's 2 games into the playoffs, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam says
They go
if you
down
ain't
0-2.
cheating, you ain't trying. Right? It's true. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. And the guys, like whether you're cheating off the ice or on the ice, they're all pushing every envelope. Every team. Oilers now finally do something on the LTIR train. Keep a guy out till game 1 of the playoffs. right? Assuming Kane's back for game 1. I mean, nobody's going to be surprised when he is.
Game 2, come on.
Game 2, that's right. Yeah. I mean, that's, just as bad.
Yeah.
But these guys know. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I don't feel the least bit sorry for them. They know. They've got, like, they're pro athletes. They've got folks they can talk to if they have any doubts. This is not new. They've been tested before. It's not the first time he got tested. It certainly won't be the last. Quaddy says Bettman wouldn't want to see a Sunbelt team disadvantaged. Probably not. Yeah, we need another team in Arizona. That's what we need. When's Arizona coming back to the league? We need that. All right, guys. We're winding down here. We got about 10 minutes left. Oilers back-to-back, New Jersey, New York. Actually, all the news. New Jersey Islanders and New York Rangers before they come back home. Is this good, bad? What's like this New York road trip? Is this good or bad for the team where they're at right now? And does it really matter? I mean, I guess they're missing the cold snap to Ryan's prognostication is maybe this is it. Maybe it's a good thing because it's been nice over here on the East Coast. And I might remind you that I'm missing out on like 14, 15 degree weekend here on the coast to go play hockey in a heavy hockey showdown on Saturday.
You're playing inside. Quit
I
complaining.
am playing inside, yeah. But you got to go from outside to inside at some point. Man.
It's not like it's an outdoor game.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I mean, is this good or bad, you guys? Like, you think this is, and then it's outside of one game out in Seattle, it's pretty good little home stand for the Oilers, right?
Yeah, I think they were just starting to pick up a little bit of momentum at home. Like I honestly think the Montreal game did a lot for their psyche, like just that atmosphere. I know it's created mostly by Habs fans being in the arena, just the combating cheers, right? It's always a fun atmosphere when Montreal's in town. It was a high energy game, and I think it gave them a lot of energy, and maybe it was Max Jones coming in as well, right? Like, you had some trade deadline guys come in, and the deadline was the next day, and then Dallas came, and that game was really exciting for everyone. And then you go on the road, you go to Buffalo, and you lay an egg. Well, not lay an egg, but you lose the way they lost, right? So I think you just got a little bit of momentum going, and then so hopefully they can get a couple wins out of the 3 games here and come home and go on a run like they usually do in March.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this is good. This is probably good, right? Like, get a few games out on the road, come back for a good little home stretch. Patrick?
Yeah, I think it's coming at a good time. I think they have a chance to. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they won all 3 games and got on a little streak here because I think they're going to be motivated. They always seem to play in recent memory like a pretty good game at Madison Square Garden against the Rangers. I think they've had a couple of good games there over the couple of years, and I think the Devils and Islanders they're playing them at the right time. So I think this is a good little road trip here for the Oilers. I think they're going to come out 3-0. That's my prediction.
3-0.
Yeah, it's a little optimistic, I know, but I just have a feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Oilers in January last year, that was outstanding. This though, I'm not sure I'd say 3-0, but New Jersey and the Islanders couldn't come at a better time, right? Like, I think the Oilers kind of need, and Utah, right? Like, I think this is a good little stretch for them to maybe, play some teams that I think they can have some success against. Well, all those teams, right? I guess their toughest opponent is probably New Jersey, right? Yeah, this is good. This is a good little stretch for them. They can maybe gain a little bit of that confidence. I think Skinner's got to go out and make that first save or make those first couple saves. I mean, the one thing that like I've kind of felt every game is I just feel like the other team is going to score first. Right? Like this team's got to go out there and want to score first for a change, right? Like that makes all the difference in the world for goaltenders from the confidence level, for the team from a confidence level. It is a fragile team right now. Like that's exactly what it feels like. It was good to have a little bit of new life at the deadline. Jones really sort of changed things up. Did you watch his after hours? Good.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good to have him and good to watch him. Yeah, I mean, this is good. I don't know 3-0. I'll go and Utah as well. So what do you got for Utah? Like, are you going 4-0 with Utah in there, Patrick?
Yep.
All right. Lotzie?
I'm gonna be a little more on the optimistic side. Like I think they've got some road woes going right now. I agree they're playing Jersey and the Islanders at the right time. Let's say we take those two games, Rangers beat us, and then we'll beat Utah. So I guess I'm going 3-1 in that stretch.
3-1. So with the Rangers pulling out the win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Although back-to-back's hard, but yeah, I think New Jersey and the Islanders are just what the doctor ordered for Edmonton. I think they play well against New Jersey, right? Like they match up well against that team. I don't know what the record is against them, but I think they match up well against them.
Didn't go very well for us back in November
Yeah, what was the
on
score again?
Amazon. I think that was a
Oh.
3-0 game. The first Amazon game.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're already ahead by not having it on Amazon.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And the boys will be energized for the back-to-back with the heavy hockey watch party on Friday. I mean, they're going to want to perform for the party. So
I mean, it goes without saying, right? They
Clearly.
They know we're watching. They know we're watching. It's like this is exciting. I think this is a good time for the Oilers, right? Like they need to break out of a slump. They've got I think 3 teams they can beat on the road before they get home. Really the toughest opponents are Winnipeg and Dallas in that, like the next stretch to the end of the month, right? This is a good opportunity for them. This is a good opportunity for the Oilers to do something big. All right, we got 3 minutes left. Just want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thank you to all the people in the chat. It was good. Faithful Fanatic, your third cousin, not related, is what he called him. Yeah. All the guys and everybody listening in. Make sure you check out heavyhockey.com. Some great new articles. I think Bob the Goalie's got a new one coming out. Unless it's out. I don't think it's out yet. No. Okay. Bob the Goalie's got a ranking coming out. Jackie B had one. You just put one up too, Lotzie, or you got one coming?
I'll have something more related to the showdown tomorrow.
All right. Yeah. Awesome. And then we got the showdown coming. Friday is the watch party. So if you're around Boston Pizza in the West End, we're going to be out in the West End having fun. Rediscovery Records says pizzas in Edmonton. We need more pizza. I guess Boston Pizza doesn't do it for him, but you know what? We got. We're gonna have a good time. There's a great silent auction. Lots of great stuff, including a signed Oilers stick, which is pretty cool. Some game tickets, the usual, right? As we go down the stretch. And then Saturday is Heavy Hockey Showdown, noon to 3. Some of the best hockey you might ever watch, over 3 hours. bunch of old guys. By hour number 3, it's pretty slow out there.
Oh, let's be real. By hour number 2, it's pretty slow.
By hour number 2, it's pretty slow. But that just means it's easier to watch, right? Like, you can kind of see the play develop right before it gets down the ice. So it's good. Like, you don't need like the puck tracker or anything like that. I think that guy got up to 10 kilometers an hour. Yeah, he was flying. No, it's going to be fun. It is going to be fun. And both Friday and Saturday are going to be fun. All of us are going to be there, right? I fly in tomorrow. So hopefully if you're not out today, we'll get to see you out there. Yeah, that's all I've got. Last word was Lotzi last week, right? Or was that right?
I think you might be right.
All right. Well, Lotzi, you go, and then we'll give Patrick much up. Just wait. Injury update. I saw a couple of people ask in the chat. Dash has not been feeling well. So, we've got, lots of thoughts and prayers going out to Dash right now. Of course, we want to see him behind the bench at the Heavy Hockey Showdown, right? So he's going to be, hopefully he's well enough to be coaching at the Heavy Hockey Showdown. And yeah. I mean, it's nothing. I don't think it's anything too serious to be open with everybody. But Dash hasn't been feeling well for a little over a week now. And that's kind of the way it's been. So we definitely hope to have him back next Wednesday. And then, of course, for the Heavy Hockey Showdown. All right. Now, Lotzi. This is why I did the last word, because I love to talk so much. I had to find a way to put myself on mute. I am putting myself on mute now. You pass it over to Patrick. Patrick knows how it's done. Have a good night, all.
Great. I guess I'll use my last word tonight to talk about the showdown a little bit. It's a big game day on Saturday. If you want to come support us in this cause, it's a fantastic cause. The Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. Games at 12 o'clock noon till 3 p.m. Downtown Community Arena. Team Heavy Hockey versus Team Edmonton Sports Talk. Big trophy on the line. I know there's going to be some fun things going on in the crowd. Like we got a photo wall. We've got a poster making station. There's going to be some backyard games. Free popcorn too, apparently, is what I've heard. And Rob Clark's going to be doing the anthem. Hunter the Lynx is going to be there for the crowd as well. So it's just going to be a fantastic time, and it's free to attend. Obviously, donations are encouraged, and we got almost 20K raised for SACE so far, which is awesome. The recently announced government cuts for them are going to be impacting some services going forward, which is really tough news for people that utilize their services. Just makes the wait times longer for counseling, which is of vital importance. So that was a tough blow. So that just makes every donation we receive for SACE just that much more important. So any way you can help support, we appreciate anything we can get. And I hope to see you guys at the game on Saturday, or hopefully on Friday night at the watch party for the watch party as well. 4:30, Boston Pizza, 170th Street, 90th Ave. Hope to see you there.
Yeah, I'll just echo a bit what Lotzi there said. Just hope you guys can join as many of you can for Friday and Saturday. Would love to have a sold-out crowd there at the community downtown arena. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be my first Heavy Hockey Showdown experience. I won't be playing, but me and Tyson from Dolany TV will be doing video around the arena. So come find us. You might get on the video here and be forever remembered in the Heavy Hockey video for the showdown there. So go down in infamy, and just if you can support SACE, they need it more than ever. And just a fantastic cause. And thank you to everyone, as always, for coming into the chat. It was another great show. I've loved my time at Heavy Hockey with you guys, Michael, Ryan. Just an absolute pleasure, as always. So thank you again to everybody, and have a great night.